Good evening. Welcome to Organization Day. Very exciting day for our City Council. If you don't know me, I'm Catherine Schad, the Chief Administrative Officer, and aside from the budget process, it's maybe the only time that I get to be public-facing for these 5 minutes when I am City Council Acting President. So without further ado, we are going to call the meeting to order. And the first thing on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So please rise with me and let's say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the first item on the agenda is a motion to adopt the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion passes. And the second item is the oath of office, swearing in of our newly elected and re-elected city council members. And for this, I will pass it over to the mayor.
Great. Thank you very much. So the way we're going to do this is we have 5 councilors being sworn in tonight. And if I could ask, one of them is Mark Barlow, who is joining us remotely. And if the other 4 could meet me inside the semicircle here, we will swear you all in together.
The third item on our agenda is probably why many of you are here tonight, and it is the State of the City address from Mayor Weinberger.
All right. Good evening. Welcome, everyone, to City Hall. It is so great to have you all here, and I would also like to say Happy Ramadan to Muslims across Burlington and Vermont. Just had a chance to do it here, but I want to say again, congratulations to our re-elected city councilors, Mark Barlow and Joan Shannon, and to our newly elected city councilors, Hannah King, Tim Doherty, and Milo Grant. We're excited you're here and looking forward to serving with all of you. I'm also happy to welcome tonight Marcel Leahy, representing the Leahy family. Senator Leahy is going to be watching live as well. And we're also really honored and excited to welcome tonight Congresswoman Becca Balint. It is great to have you here with us, and we're all enjoying your first months in office. You're doing a great job. Thank you. And my old friend and now Senator Peter Welch is here as well. Welcome, Senator. You know, it's really because of you, your leadership, your energy in DC that Burlington and Vermont punched so far above our weight class, and we appreciate your service. I am always happy to welcome back to City Hall Mayor Peter Clavel and his wife, Betsy Ferries. Thank you for being here with us tonight, Peter and Betsy. For many years now, you've offered us wonderful support and advice, and we're so grateful for it. I know Stacy is as well. Thank you. I also want to, we have another special guest here tonight, and that's Kyle Clark, the founder and CEO of Beta Technologies, and his wife, Katie, have joined us tonight. Welcome. Kyle, we are all so excited and impressed by your vision and the progress you're making towards bringing electric airplanes into reality, and we are so proud that you're doing it out at our airport, and we can't wait till they're coming off the line out there soon. So it is awesome to have so many others here as well tonight. I can't thank each and every one of you personally, but I am so grateful for your presence here tonight, but moreover, for all that you do to make Burlington such a special place. I do want to ask the people that are standing behind me, who are the great department directors that I get to go to work with every day. It's really been a great privilege of this job to work with them and to work with the whole city employee team that they lead, and it would be great if we could recognize them for their incredible service. Thank you. I feel really fortunate tonight to have 3 generations of Weinbergers here. My parents, incredibly supportive parents, Ethel and Michael, have come up from Heartland again. Both of my daughters, my wondrous daughters, are here this year. Hopefully they'll be able to make it through the whole speech. We'll see. And thank you, Leland and Ada, for being here and all your support. And thank you, Stacy, what you have done to support me in this role for a long time now has been incredible, while also serving in this incredibly important role for the community, heading up the King Street Center Head Start program. So thank you. So, you know, it really has been a long time now. This is the 12th time, somewhat surprisingly to me, that I have given the State of the City address. And while in some ways these 11 years have passed incredibly quickly, they will surely go down as one of the most momentous and tumultuous periods in American history. Here in Burlington, we have faced crises since the day I took office. First, we had to address an urgent liquidity crisis that threatened the city's ability to sustain basic services, followed by the challenge of actually completing the sale of Burlington Telecom that was necessary to stabilize our municipal finances. As I'm sure you'll remember, we had the largest construction project in the city's history go silent, go dark in 2018, and then it stayed that way for 4 years. When I gave this speech upstairs remotely 3 years ago, 2 weeks after shutting down the city's bars and restaurants, I declared that the state of the city was a state of emergency. That summer of 2020, the city held its breath through 34 days of street protests and encampments in Battery Park. And that fall, on the second day of the new academic year, we had to permanently close our only high school. And throughout the last 11 years, we've been buffeted by seismic national and international events. 3 days before being sworn in as mayor, I stood in a receiving line out at the airport to welcome President Barack Obama as he disembarked Air Force One. And then 4 years later, we greeted candidate Donald Trump very differently by erecting barriers on Main Street to interdict the violent clashes that often marked Trump rallies. At the end of my first year in office, 26 elementary school students and educators were massacred in Newtown, Connecticut. I think we all thought that would be a moment that galvanized the country to action, but since then, annual gun deaths in the U.S. have risen 39%, and our country's shameful list of mass tragedies has gotten far longer. You know, as I was writing this speech, the latest school shooting took place in Nashville, taking another 6 innocent lives, and became already the 13th school shooting of 2023. We had a very different day. Burlington's celebrated on the back steps of City Hall when the Supreme Court declared marriage equality to be the law of the land, then rallied in the park after that same court struck down Roe v. Wade, eliminating a fundamental right for the first time in the country's history. From our living rooms and workplaces, we watched the withdrawal of troops from Iraq and Afghanistan, an insurrection in our own nation's capital, and 2 presidential impeachments. Tomorrow, apparently, we will witness the arraignment of a former president for the first time. We experienced the worst pandemic in 100 years and a racial justice reckoning 400 years in the making. And right now, the country is enduring the highest inflation in 40 years and the first major war in Europe in over 70. Yet, through this all, we have forged steady, enduring progress here in Burlington. Our city in 2023 is in many ways a better place than it was in 2012. Back then, in 2012, we were teetering on a financial cliff, millions of dollars in the red. Today, we are once again a AA city with millions of dollars in reserve, and that financial strength gave us the ability to deploy resources decisively to fight the pandemic and now lead the economic recovery. In 2012, our housing market was badly broken, having only produced about 500 homes over the prior decade. Now, after many ordinance reforms and major focus, we are starting to make good on the promise that housing is a human right by building many more homes. We built almost 1,300 in my first 10 years in office, and we are now on track to meet our goal of doing that again in just 5 more years with nearly 800 homes in construction in the city right now. In 2012, Burlington had fewer than 25 total solar installations. Today, we have 385 solar arrays, generating well over 9 megawatts of deployed PV, the most per capita of any city east of the Mississippi. Since introducing our green stimulus incentives in 2020, residential installations of cold climate heat pumps have increased by more than 20-fold, and we are continuing and expanding these incentives while investing millions into grid upgrades and other infrastructure projects that will help us electrify everything, all while keeping rates low, even as utilities across New England saw double-digit rate hikes. In 2012, major elements of our public infrastructure were in disrepair. Since then, we have used our renewed financial strength to complete over $100 million of investments in our essential public infrastructure, our streets, our sidewalks, parks, water, sewer, and stormwater infrastructure. And just 3 weeks ago, excitingly, the community broke ground on one of our most important pieces of public infrastructure, and that's our nearly $200 million 21st century high school. And I want to congratulate and thank Board Chair Claire Wohl and Superintendent Tom Flanagan for their incredible leadership getting us to this place. We know there's a long way to go still, Claire, and we're going to keep fighting with you to get the resources Burlington deserves in Montpelier and to see this project successfully built. We have funding commitments and engineered and plans in place for this investment and renewal to continue for years to come. Within the next year, we will break ground on a $30 million effort to turn Main Street into a great street with all the upgrades and enhancements that you've seen on the lower part of St. Paul Street, and turn it into a great public space without increasing property taxes through the use of our downtown TIF district. And over the next few years, we will invest even more TIF dollars and federal dollars rebuilding all of Bank Street, all of Cherry Street, and finally reconnecting St. Paul Street and Pine Street, which have been severed since urban renewal in the 1960s. No facet of our public infrastructure has seen greater transformation than our parks. When I took office in April of 2012, parts of the bike path were still closed from the spring 2011 flooding, and the general state of our parks had prompted voters to lead an effort to create a new dedicated tax for maintaining the parks. We got the path repaired in time to host the Vermont City Marathon on its traditional route that Memorial Day, and then we kept working on it for years, until just last summer, we finished the 8-mile, $16 million rebuilding and enhancement of the entire path, the largest parks project in the city's history. We've made major investments in Waterfront Park and the Urban Reserve. We created 2 new waterside parks, and we have opened the wonders of Rock Point to the public forever through a conservation easement with the Episcopal Church. All right, so I will spare you the details of all of the playground renovations, despite how much I have loved picking out playground equipment with the expert advice of Ada and Lee Lynn at times. I won't go into that other than to happily report that we are well into construction of the state's only fully universal and accessible playground. I want to recognize our community member Annie Borden and her son Otis, who can't be with us tonight, but they have been championing this project for years, along with dozens of their neighbors who organize under the title Oak Ledge for All, and that Oak Ledge for All playground will be open this summer. And, you know, Annie and Otis, when you see this, I can't wait to enjoy the park with you. In 2012, the city was pockmarked with stuck installed projects. The former coal-fired Moran plant sat crumbling amidst the weeds and industrial debris of the northern waterfront. Bus riders were still using a makeshift transit center from the 1980s, and the Champlain Parkway right-of-way was laying fallow. Today, the revived and remediated Moran frame is a monument to the city's innovative spirit on the now vibrant northern waterfront. 750,000 riders a year enjoy our 21st century transit center, and the Champlain Parkway is under construction again after a 34-year hiatus. So, you know, of all the city's stories of recovery and investment over the past 11 years, none has been more dramatic than that of the Burlington International Airport. In 2012, the airport was actually one of just 2 airports in the country that were junk bond rated after the troubles that we had had with the building of the new garage there, and it was courting disaster with less than 1 month's cash on hand. We now have nearly 2 years cash on hand and a solid, stable rating from Moody's. And moreover, BTV, as we like to call it, is now one of the busiest airports in New England, second only, I was actually surprised by the stat. It is second only to Boston's Logan Airport and is clearly an economic engine for our region. None of this success or the prior decades of growth would have been possible. And I'm going to speak now to the senator who's watching at home. None of this, Senator, would have been possible without the critical support of you. You have always understood what a critical link the airport is between Vermont and the world, and for 48 years, you worked to strengthen that link. You supported the Air National Guard, a key partner to the airport's success, and you played a leadership role in securing an astonishing nearly $145 million in federal money that we plan to invest at the airport over the next 5 years, including $34 million of congressionally directed spending that you got into the FY23 appropriations bill in December, just before you and Marcel came home to Vermont. Your support of Beta, our world-leading electric airplane manufacturer, set the stage for the company to sign last year a lease that could go for as much as 80 years with the city, which promises significant future economic growth and technical innovation for years to come. Senator, to recognize your commitment to the airport, your lifetime of service to Vermont, and your special relationship with the city of Burlington, which we are proud to say is your home and Marcel's home once again, I am thrilled to announce that the city of Burlington will rename the airport the Patrick Leahy Burlington International Airport.
Well, Margaret and I are so delighted to join you, Marcel, in all of Burlington, in all of Vermont, this wonderful city council, to honor Patrick J. Leahy, 48 years of honest, integrity, brilliant service. And he has a lot of friends in Washington. They couldn't all be here, but there's a couple who sent videos, one from the Senate, and let's play that now. Patrick, keep your eye on this.
Hi everyone, it's Senator Chuck Schumer. Today is a great, great day honoring a great Vermonter, great American, and a dear friend. I'm sure some of you may have heard of him. My good friend, Pat Leahy. Pat, we already miss you here in Washington. I hope you miss us too. I know you miss my many, many calls to you. But I'm sure you're enjoying the good life up on your beloved tree farm. I also hope you'll come and visit soon. And when you do, it'll be so fitting that you'll be flying out of the Patrick Leahy Burlington International Airport. How about that? What an amazing tribute to an amazing public servant. I can't think of anyone more deserving of this recognition than Pat Leahy. No one's done more for this airport or the state of Vermont than Pat has. Now, when people fly into Burlington, the first thing they'll see is Pat's name. And when they step out into the wonderful state, they'll see the many fruits of Pat's labor. Of course, Pat will be the first to shun his accomplishments as his alone. After all, he's just half the equation, and he'd be the first to admit it. The other half, of course, is Marcel, Pat's remarkable wife and partner of 6 decades. We can't recognize Pat without recognizing Marcel as well. So Pat and Marcel, we love you, we miss you. Congratulations on this tribute.
And Margaret, we have one more video, right? And Becca, one more video. Somebody, a few of you will recognize.
Pat, we've known each other a long time. I remember the first time I went up and campaigned for you. I was a sitting senator. I think I was 32 or 34 years old, and they were going after you for running for the Senate because you were too young. And I was younger than you. You've been a dear friend since then, pal. You've been a lion of the Senate, a champion for Vermont, and a great American. Over 48 years, 17,000 Senate votes, you've shaped the destiny of our nation. And I know from experience, that requires some commuting, a lot of commuting. and hardly anyone has spent more time in this airport than you, pal. Countless early morning and late night flights doing the people's business. It's fitting that the Burlington International Airport will be named after you. Everyone who flies through will remember your tenacity, your service, your honesty, your dignity, and the best of what you provided for the country. It's real, it's all about you. There's no higher honor than being recognized at home by the people who know you best, who have given you the privilege of serving for so long. From Jill and me, the entire Biden family, congratulations, Pat. You and Marcel and all the kids and grandkids. You've done a hell of a job, buddy. God love you.
All right. We heard from the mayor. We heard from Senator Schumer. We heard from President Biden. And now we are going to hear from the very best of all, Marcel Leahy.
Goodness gracious. As my children would attest if they were here, that I sometimes have trouble with my allergies. And I'm really close tonight. But thank you, Mayor Weinberger, President Paul, members of the City Council, citizens of Burlington, and citizens of Vermont. And then the remarks from Senator Schumer and the President. Patrick, I just wish you were here. And I know that he would love to be here with all of you tonight, but due to a back injury, he is unable to be here with us in person, but he's watching right now, seeing my allergies. And I can tell you that he is very humbled and deeply moved to have his name associated with the Burlington International Airport. Ooh, that name's going to change. Throughout his career, Patrick always strived to bring Vermont values to Washington on issues of importance to Burlington, to Vermont, to our nation, and to the rest of the world. His journey to share those values were always begun with his flight out of Burlington. His love for Vermont runs deep, and while he worked long and hard in Washington, he always looked forward to returning home. Many of you have heard him say, and I have too, when greeting us at the airport on a return flight, that familiar phrase, "It's good to be home." And it is good to be home. It's an incredible honor to have you rename the Burlington International Airport, the Patrick Leahy Burlington International Airport. Thank you all so very, very much.
You know, as we just heard from Marcel, one of the reasons that Senator Leahy was such a great senator, and we're so proud of him, is because for 48 years, he took Vermont's values not only to our nation's capital, but to the world stage. And he did so much to encourage Vermont to stay engaged with the world as well. For over a year now, Ukraine has repulsed Russia's full-scale invasion of their country. And I really believe that all free people, and I know, Marcel, you believe this too from our conversation at Battery Park on Veterans Day. All free people owe Ukrainians a solemn debt for their courageous and inspiring stand against 21st century authoritarianism. The world is so much safer today, and we are so much safer here in Burlington with President Putin's ambitions blocked and on the defensive than we would be if we were living in a world where he had succeeded at claiming Ukraine by force quickly and easily. So this country and the city is standing with Ukrainians in aid and in spirit and must continue to do so resolutely. We have two young men in our community, Adam Roof and Colin Hilliard, who have understood this and have responded to the war by traveling twice, once to Poland, to the border with Ukraine, and once to Ukraine itself, to deliver aid in country and to outfit shelters for fleeing refugees. Their continued efforts, which have involved a lot of fundraising locally, have brought over $130,000 of humanitarian aid deep into the country and toward the eastern front lines. The people of Ukraine deserve and are going to need our sustained attention and help through the remainder of this terrible war, and clearly through a long rebuilding in the wake of Russia's systematic bombing of civilian infrastructure, which continues almost every day or every week. To that end of providing that support, I am commissioning Adam and Colin to leverage their experiences of the past year and to create a new sister city relationship with a Ukrainian city by this time next year. In addition to the typical goal of cultural exchange, a goal of this new effort will be for Burlington to be a partner with our Ukrainian counterpart in the rebuilding effort by providing both municipal technical expertise, and we have some great experts, as well as continued humanitarian aid. So, Colin and Adam, go get this done. So, I knew, of course, when I stood up here for the first time in 2012 that we faced big challenges and a lot of hard work. That's what drew me to the job. I saw the financial crisis and the lack of progress on major public projects and was certain that we needed to and could do much better. What I didn't fully realize was that the tests of this job, the tests that we would face together, would include having to grapple with fundamental principles and questions about how we live and thrive together in community. At this table, we have had to answer big questions, including how do we keep our communities safe, and what is the role of the police in achieving that safety? How do we define racial justice and racial equity, and how do we pursue it in our time and in our place? What is our local role in confronting the global existential threat of climate change? And even what role do we have in protecting, strengthening, and evolving our democracy itself? After 11 years of intense, passionate debate in this room, 11 town meeting days, plus at least 4 more special elections where the community made decisions on dozens of charter changes and tens of millions of dollars of infrastructure investments, I now deeply understand the old sentiment, the old truism really, that in a free society, these defining questions are never fully settled and that each generation must answer them for themselves. This has been particularly true over the last 3 years as we've experienced unrest on our streets and at times gridlock at this table. With the decisive 2023 town meeting day behind us, the state of the city is reunited and stronger for having weathered so much. The priorities of this community are clear, and we are moving forward. So I want to look a little bit at those March election results. Voters, somewhat narrowly, a little narrower than I would have liked, voted down an effort to remove significant authority from us, the city's local elected officials. Together, we here at this table need to make good on that vote of confidence and deliver progress promptly in its wake. On ballot question number 7, nearly 2/3 of the city made it clear that they greatly value public safety and they are expecting city government to restore it now. When we meet again in 2 weeks, I will be asking for the council's approval on outstanding elements of the most recent public safety plan that I announced in January, creating what we call a drop plan, a deferred retirement plan to retain senior officers through the police department's 2.5-year rebuilding period that we still have to go, creating an assistant director at the BPD to oversee and coordinate all the new resources, alternative public safety and crisis response resources that we've created in recent years together, and making a clear council statement of support for partner law enforcement agencies that help us out. They help us increase our downtown public safety presence until the BPD is fully staffed once again. It's also time to resolve the unfinished debate over police oversight. Since 2016, we have steadily expanded the Burlington Police Commission's role, reviewing all public complaints and offering input to the chief's disciplinary decisions. And I think I saw some Burlington Police Commissioners joining us tonight, and thank you for your service. We should bring this process to resolution by formalizing the Police Commission's role in a manner that promotes public trust and carefully protects procedural justice for our officers. In 2020, City Attorney Eileen Blackwood and I submitted to the council a charter change that would, from my perspective, do exactly that, and that should provide a good foundation for the council and the administration to find common ground to complete this effort quickly, as I know the council wants to do as well, based on the February resolution that you passed. Finally, we need to recommit as a community to the time-honored values and rules that make our downtown safe and welcoming to all. As the police enforce our laws and ordinances that ensure both a welcoming downtown and our broader public safety, they must meet the high professional standards that this community has laid out for them. And when they do that, when the police act lawfully and consistently with their training and their policy, as they almost always do here in Burlington, we must have their backs. With the same ballot that Burlingtonians voted by a large margin for renewed public safety, they also voted to expand inclusion and equity by giving all residents, all legal residents, local voting rights. Together, these two votes are consistent with one of my long-held and often articulated beliefs that public safety and racial justice should not be pitted against each other. Burlingtonians know that we must have both. To ensure that we do, I'm really very grateful to have our new REIB director, Kim Carson, as a partner in ensuring that we make good on our racial justice commitments and our goals. Unfortunately, Kim has a personal issue and she's not able to be here with us tonight, but I know she is very excited about her role and her work. She has spent much of her initial months with us assessing the department's structure and capacity, and as part of the budget process, she will be bringing forward a reorganization that maintains the city's current major investment in the department, which is by far the most expansive government agency focused on racial equity in Vermont, while also restructuring REIB's resources to have a focused impact on our top priorities. Those priorities include equity in home ownership and health outcomes, expanded economic opportunity and equitable deployment of recovery funds, continuing to host a major Juneteenth annual event, as we have for the past 2 years, and eliminating racial bias across city government. continue our city's proud 40-year legacy of climate leadership, Burlington voters also took a very strong stand on climate action on town meeting day, with over 2/3 voting for a second time to create the first carbon pollution impact fee in the state of Vermont, proving that this important and efficient policy tool is, in fact, politically possible, despite the doubts of many. The latest UN climate report paints a stark reality. We have no time to lose in this existential fight against the climate emergency. I want to thank City Councilor Ben Travers for already taking steps to turn this new charter authority into binding lawful ordinance. The administration will work very closely with you in the weeks ahead to get this done as soon as possible. We believe that our net zero by 2030 plan, as I've said a lot of times, may be the most ambitious local climate goal in the country. It's also possible that our plan to recapture the waste heat and renewable stream from the McNeil plant is the oldest climate goal in the country, and we've never been able to quite get there. But we are closer than ever to creating such a system, and I am determined to make a final go, no-go decision with the council in 2023. I do see former BED Director Neil Lunderville chuckling a little bit in that this has been our goal since 2014, but Neil is still working hard on it in his role at Vermont Gas. Darren Springer is working hard on it as our general manager at BED. We have a few remaining hurdles to get over. If the project is a go, we will be moving to start construction immediately. So there weren't any housing issues on the ballot this year. There have been in past years, but we know that housing is on just about everyone's mind. Most of the nearly 800 homes that we now have in construction that I mentioned before are being built as part of two projects. Over 400 new homes at City Place, which I am happy to say is now moving forward at full speed, and approximately 250 currently at Cambrian Rise. The city's been a very active partner in both these projects, making critical policy changes and public investments to support both. However, it is really the nonprofit and for-profit developers who take the financial risk and do the hard work of bringing these new homes into reality. And I want to thank those partners. I see some of them are here with us tonight, and everyone who cares about housing, I hope you will give them a round of applause as well. I want to thank CHT, Cathedral Square, Eric Farrell, and the City Place partners for their progress and commitment to Burlington. You know, we have another opportunity. There aren't that many of these, but we have another opportunity to build homes at a scale like this on what is currently nearly 13.5 acres of surface parking lots in the heart of the South End. I would like it to be in the heart of what we have proposed to be the South End Innovation District. So I proposed this in late 2021, and the Planning Commission approved the zoning that would create this new mixed-use district that would end the prohibition of housing in this section of the South End. And I do urge the Ordinance Committee, which is about to be created, and which is clearly going to be very busy in the year ahead, to make review and approval of this new district a top priority in the months ahead. Our other major land use policy effort for 2023 is one that would impact the entire city. The idea is we are calling the neighborhood code. And this too we've been working on for more than a year. And so far this effort has documented that, well, we all kind of knew, but it's stunning to see it laid out in a graphic report that is about to be public and that there will be a presentation to the council on this spring. And what you see in that is that Burlington, like many cities, made a series of zoning changes going back about 50 years that effectively prohibited older forms of housing that had once housed a lot of people very well, duplexes, triplexes, other small residential structures. Those time-honored, really important ways of housing affordably many people are now illegal in about 70% of the city's neighborhoods. The neighborhood code seeks to reverse this trend and legalize, once again, these small-scale residential buildings in every neighborhood. Over time, by doing it that way, by every neighborhood contributing and chipping in, this has the potential to create thousands of new places to live, and I think thousands of new homeownership opportunities in the city, which we very much need. Another area of, there are not many more, of housing progress is strengthening our local housing trust fund. In 2012, this dedicated tax, which the city had been, I believe in Mayor Clavel's time, had been a real pioneer in creating. It, when it was created, though, it had been capped and was not rising with inflation, and it was only generating about $215,000 a year. With the support of the voters in 2020 to increase that rate, along with recent policy changes that we've made together to our short-term rental ordinance and inclusionary zoning policies, the annual revenue to the Housing Trust Fund, this critical tool for creating permanently affordable homes, has increased fourfold to approximately $800,000 a year. This funding has created new opportunities for action, and I have asked CEDO to review the Housing Trust Fund policies and initiatives and propose changes that would allow these new local dollars to be invested in efforts to end homelessness, to expand opportunities for first-generation home buyers and those who have been historically disenfranchised from homeownership, and to support the building of more permanently affordable inclusionary units. To ultimately solve the housing crisis, though, I think we all know that we also need action from state government. We need a clear plan for transitioning away from the emergency motel program. We need more housing navigators to help people find housing and stay in housing. And we need the state to do what the cities of Burlington, South Burlington, Winooski, and other municipalities have been doing for years, and that is to acknowledge that we have a massive housing supply shortage, and that we have to address that. We need to get serious about reforming the decades of wasteful, exclusionary, or just plain bad state policies. I just talked about some local policies that we needed to change, but we also need to do that on the state level. And the two of these things together make it harder to build homes in Vermont than just about anywhere else. Vermont mayors, VLCT, housing advocates, design professionals, and builders have been clear for years about changes to Act 250 that would have an immediate positive impact, and that would have that positive impact without eroding our environmental goals and standards. For years, these pleas have been ignored, and that seems to be on the verge of happening again. Just last Friday, the Vermont Senate voted to study Act 250 yet again, as has been done many times before. You know, and I just can't miss this opportunity to say very clearly that from my perspective, in the midst of a housing crisis so acute that we have 70 people sleeping outside every night in Burlington. I was working late last night, working on this, and I walked past 5 people sleeping on Main Street and Maple Street on the way home. In the midst of a housing crisis that acute, when renters are subjected to a vacancy rate of less than 1%, when so many of our young families are unable to buy a home in this community, the prices shot up another 35% since 2019, we are long past the time for more study. To end the housing crisis, we need the state to be all in on building many more homes. But it's not just with housing that we need urgent structural reform from the state. There are many other areas where Burlington is straining mightily to address our most serious challenges, and we need far greater state government partnership. Burlington voted overwhelmingly in 2014 for safe storage of firearms and the prohibition of guns in bars. Such laws would have made a difference during the spike in gun violence that we experienced over the last 3 years. 6 of the last 17 crime guns recovered by the BPD were stolen guns. Some have been stolen off the front seats of cars. 25% of the shootings were late-night bar-related incidents. Yet for 9 years, our charter changes have sat at the State House, pinned to the committee walls. You know, no other country tolerates this level of gun violence, and we should not either. If the state legislature and the governor will not allow Burlington to make our own common sense gun laws, then it's incumbent on them to act for all of Vermont now, to keep our kids, our women, and even our police officers safe. We need the state to be all in on ending gun violence. I think we have some of our partners from Let's Grow Kids here as well. Could you raise your hand if you're here? Thank you, Sam. You know, since 2018, Burlington has been working closely with Let's Grow Kids and has invested more than $2 million of local funds in our early learning initiative that we launched that year. The program is working. We have helped to open 3 new child care centers with those 3 centers have up to 120 new high-quality spots for young children. And this year, in addition to that, or in taking some of those spots, approximately 75 Burlington infants and toddlers will receive city scholarships to put layer on top of the assistance they get from the state and federal governments to attend high-quality child care centers. However, this is not a comprehensive solution, and the child care sector is regulated and funded in large part by the state. And the state needs to drive structural reforms if we're going to truly make sure that all Vermont kids get a fair start in life. Let's Grow Kids has been working for 7 years in the State House on that comprehensive structural reform, and they had a big victory on Friday in that same Vermont Senate when the Senate voted for a new $150 million plan. But, you know, this effort still has a long way to go, and Sam, I hope you'll share with Allie Richards, who wanted to be here tonight but couldn't, who's been leading this effort for the whole 7 years, that the city of Burlington will continue to do everything we can to support this critical bill until it gets over that finish line. To do right by our kids, families, and talented workers caring for our youngest Vermonters, the state needs to be all in on ending the child care crisis. I'm going to speak to the drug crisis as well. Burlington continues to drive innovation to end this heartbreaking crisis, which has continued to get worse every year since the end of the pandemic. Burlington, you know, some examples of what Burlington is trying to do. Burlington is the lead funder for the new innovative Vermonters for Criminal Justice Reform program that is just a couple blocks away from here and that is doing this pioneering work using medically assisted treatment in combination with contingency management, and is helping in just a few months over 100 new people into treatment. And I want to recognize and thank Tom Dalton and Jess Kirby for their visionary work and leadership on this. You guys, raise your hands. With the support of the council, we have also added 5 new social work positions at the police department to, you know, do an innovative thing for the police to follow up. In part, the social workers are doing other things, but they are also following up with the people that they come into contact with that are suffering from opioid use disorder to try to give them an opportunity to go into life-saving treatment. And with the Elmwood Emergency Shelter, which has been open since the beginning of the year, we have created Vermont's first facility structured to bring a public health approach to ending homelessness. But, again, Burlington cannot end the drug crisis alone by any means. We need help interdicting the huge volume of illegal fentanyl that is pouring into this country from labs in China and Mexico. And the state needs to confront the reality that with fentanyl fully here, the hub and spoke system that there's rightly a lot of Vermont pride about creating, but that system is no longer working as it was designed with the arrival of fentanyl. We must expand access to methadone, eliminate pre-authorization requirements to buprenorphine, and legalize safe injection sites to save lives and create an important new path to life-saving treatment. In short, to stop the overdose deaths that are taking so many Vermonters in the prime of their lives, it's just stunning if people haven't confronted this. We have a monthly meeting every week. We call it, every month. We call it Community Stat. We've had this meeting since 2016, and one of the things we do at these meetings often is to look at the documented overdose deaths in the last month. And every month, the stories involve people who are in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s and their 50s. We see portraits sometimes of people that we know a little bit more about. These are people who are working in critical jobs. They have families. They have many loved ones. And yet, we haven't been able to turn this around. And it just keeps getting worse every year. If we're going to stop the overdose deaths that are taking so many Vermonters in that prime of life, the state needs to be all in on harm reduction. Burlington has been leading the nation on energy and climate policy for decades. With our Burlington Electric Department net zero incentives and new historic initiatives in President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, there has never been a better time and a better place to go electric than Burlington in 2023. But again, there is so much more to be done to create new sources of renewable energy and decarbonize the regional grid and economy. There are billions of federal dollars available for states that are focused on getting to net zero, on creating green industries, and on cutting costs to their residents. To do our part in ending the climate emergency, the state needs to lead and be all in on reducing fossil fuel use and electrifying everything with renewable power. When the state goes all in on these critical challenges, Burlington will benefit greatly. But you know what? So will Bellows Falls. So will Heartland. So will Canaan. Because for all the focus on the rural-urban divide in Montpelier and in Washington, the reality is that our futures are tightly linked. There is not a corner, a valley, or a village in these Green Mountains that would not benefit from decisive state action to create more high-quality child care opportunities, expand access to drug treatment, build more homes and support for the unhoused, stop gun violence, and boldly confront climate emergency. Thank you again for joining us on this annual night of democratic renewal. To my colleagues on the council, I'm looking forward to our work together ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Weinberger. Item number 4 on our agenda is public comment. Please note that tonight, public comment will be limited to our city council action items for the meeting, election of our city council president, and election of Board of Finance members. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak to either of those items? Is there anyone online wishing to speak to those items? Not seeing anyone in line or in Contois, we will go ahead and close public comment. Moving on to item number 5, election of the city council president. Are there any nominations? Yes, Councilor Travers.
It is a great privilege to nominate Councilor Karen Paul to remain our council president for the next year, and at the appropriate time, would like to make a couple remarks in support of that nomination.
Excellent. Are there any other nominations? And now awkwardly, I have to ask again, are there any other nominations? Hearing none, Councilor Travers, you can have the floor back.
Thank you. Here in this room, we have a number of past council presidents. I'm thrilled to see former council president Bill Keogh here, among others. Councilor Paul, you have continued and built upon their legacies, leading with honesty and integrity. You came into this role a year ago with the unanimous support of our colleagues, and I firmly believe you have followed through on the trust that was placed in you a year ago. I think because of how seamlessly you came into this role, it's lost on folks how much work goes into the role of council president. And I think I can speak on behalf of everyone in this council when I say, we're glad you're the one who's doing it. You have preserved Contois as a place where all voices can be heard in an open and respectful manner. You have built agendas that, for the most part, have not had us burning the midnight oil too often over the past year. You have recognized that we as this council are going to have our disagreements, but you've also worked very hard for us to hash out our differences before we come to this table in our meetings. And in so doing, I know you've treated everyone at this table with fairness and transparency. Because of that work, the public has seen, and I have personally experienced, a more collaborative city council over the past year. Through that work, I believe I can speak on behalf of the administration and the amazing team that works for our great city when I say you have earned their respect. I believe I can speak on behalf of our community when I say you have earned their respect. I know I can speak on behalf of this council when I say you have earned our respect, and I'm excited for the year to come under your leadership. Thank you.
Are we ready for a vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
this would have taken even longer. Thank you so much. Thank you, Councilor Travers, for your kind words in nominating me. Beyond what I can say, I am deeply grateful. A warm congratulations on their re-election to this body to Councilors Barlow and Shannon. And while it is wonderful to be re-elected, there is nothing more special than the first time. And a warm welcome to Councilors King, Grant, and Doherty. Congratulations to each of you on your election to the Burlington City Council. I know you have all worked very hard to be here. We're excited to work with you. We're excited to support you. And we're excited to assist you in your new role as city councilors. Last year, many of you at this table took a leap of faith in unanimously supporting me for this role. And tonight, I am deeply appreciative and equally humbled, perhaps more than I can fully express, for this council's support and continued vote of trust and confidence in me. Our love of this city that we all call home and our commitment to the noble cause of public service are the reasons why we all sit at this table. We show that commitment when we are each at our very best, working together, showing mutual respect for one another. The community expects us to rise above the rhetoric and the heat of any debate and not allow the moment to blur what we all know to be true in each other. Our differences should never come first. What we have in common, all of us, all 12 of us, and finding a path forward must always be our guidepost. The wisdom within each of us that offers us guidance, light, and vision when faced with a complicated issue. We will have debates over the most pressing issues of our day, and contentious issues test us. There is no doubt in my mind that we can and will remember that disagreement can be direct and respectful at the same time. It can be complete and it can still be fair-minded. And together, all of us, we will set an example for our constituents and greater community of civility, of collaborative governance, engaging more with those we disagree than agree, understanding more than projecting, always remembering that this office that we are so incredibly honored to have is so much greater than ourselves, and this body will live on long after we leave this table. Together, over the next year, we will write chapters that will become our city's history, and I am so excited for the level of debate that I know will be enriched by each one of you and each of your unique voices. We may sit at this table in a semicircle, but in many ways, we are linked in a solemn bond of service, one with no beginning and no ending. And our greatest strength is one of bringing our community effective democracy, oversight that honors this council's unique role in our city government, and actions that are reflective of our broad and beloved community. It is within each of us to recognize the gravity of our office and share our impact to inspire others with an open heart, to help those in our community who are looking to us for stability, and to infuse our hope for our community to aid those for whom hope is in short supply. The shift that we have seen in the past year has been one that has brought greater inclusion and welcome to all perspectives. I hope that you will each join me in continuing that journey. No one of us, not even some of us, can share this mission if we are to be successful. We must all share it, we must all nurture it, and we must all support it. To the voices to the right and left of me at this table, my commitment to each of you remains as it was last year. It is unchanged and unwavering. I will do my very best every day to value each of you and to honor the perspective that you bring to this work. I will do my best to exhibit fairness, transparency, and to always be responsive to each one of you. I am looking forward to a productive year, as I know you all are, one where we honor and learn from our past, embrace and effect just and responsive change, and continue to improve our city for the present. This I know, and you all know, we can do together. Thank you so much for listening. More than words can really say. I am so grateful that we are sharing this celebratory moment and this entire evening together. Thank you so much. So we do have a couple of other things that we need to do this evening. The next order of business on our agenda is item 6, which is the election of 3 city councilors to the Board of Finance. And for a motion on this item, I will go to Councilor Hightower.
Thank you, President Paul. As has somewhat become our tradition, I would like to nominate a slate for the 3 seats that are for city councilors to the Board of Finance, in addition to your own seat, President Paul, which is Councilor Ali Dieng, Councilor Joe McGee, and then joining us online, Councilor Mark Barlow.
Thank you so much, Councilor Hightower. Are there any other nominations to the Board of Finance? Are there any other nominations to the Board of Finance? As CAO Shad said, that's that uncomfortable moment where we all sit and wait. A motion has been made by Councilor Hightower to elect Councilors McGee, Jang, and Barlow to the Board of Finance for the next council year. Seeing no other nominations, I will close them. Is there any councilor who wishes to speak to the motion before us? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. That motion passes unanimously. Congratulations to our colleagues, Councilors Barlow, Jang, and McGee, on your election to the Board of Finance. Seeing no further business on our agenda, I would welcome a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGee, seconded by Councilor Travers. All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. That motion passes unanimously, and we are adjourned at 7:24. Wishing you all a good evening. Thank you so much for joining us.